Hey everybody, everything new under the sun. You're looking at the timeline of the return of the Lord. We're going to take a look at this because I think there are some major battles or wars that will come prior to the Antichrist being revealed, getting into power, and moving to a world government and a mark of the beast system. I want to provide a little bit of an update on the situation in Canada, though. Let's go ahead and just mute that for a second. So this is as your hedge. Let's see. So the Ambassador Bridge, Windsor, it is still blockaded. Police move into Windsor as city industry group seeks court order basically against them to get them off. There's videos here on this particular one. But this one says, every eyes of the world are on us. Ontario declares state of emergency over bridge blockade. So, of course, in Ottawa, they declared a state of emergency, and they're under a state of emergency. That gives them more power to do more things. And yet the police can't actually kick the protesters out because they're legal. They're legally protesting. So that kind of ties their hands if they can't do anything legally. They are doing some dirty things around the edges. They're using scare tactics against kids, threatening in a not overt sort of way that they might take kids away. They brought child services to Ottawa, of course the scare tactic is, well, we're going to take your kids away from you if you don't get out of the way. So anyways, lots of pressure tactics. But down at the Ambassador Bridge, I believe they've opened a lane, but it has shut down automakers. Parts aren't moving between the countries, and this is a real problem for a lot of people, and this even hurts Canadians and their jobs and Americans and their jobs. And it brings the quote by, let me see if I can bring it up here. I'm going to share a window capture. Let me see if I can share this preview. There we are. I'm going to share this window capture here and pull it up there. This is Ocasio-Cortez, the American politician, and she had a tweet, and it said, this was, I believe it was in relation to the BLM riots. The whole point of protesting, so AOC, the whole point of protesting is to make people uncomfortable. And the bottom, to folks who complain protest demands make others uncomfortable, that's the point, and really it is. If a protest is completely peaceful and not bothersome to anybody, I won't say completely peaceful, but if nothing out of the ordinary happens and it doesn't get in the way and make things inconvenient for people, it doesn't have to be illegal, but if it doesn't make things inconvenient for people, then there's pretty much no point to protest, because then you can just absolutely ignore it. Activists, let me see, go up here. The thing that critics of activists don't get is that they tried playing the polite language, and that's what Canadians have been doing for a long time, policy game, and all it did was make them easier to ignore. It wasn't until they made folks uncomfortable that there was traction to do anything, even if it wasn't their full demands. So that's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, American politician, saying that. Again, this was in relation to the BLM riots, which burned down buildings and people were killed and harmed and injured in the Canadian protest. None of that is happening, especially the protest in Ottawa. It's peaceful and legal in large part. And there are some mistakes being made by a few, but there's always a few in the group. I can't say that the same is true for the Ambassador Bridge, but they are making a point and their voice is being heard. So just something to remember there. So let me just mute that. So back to the situation here. State of emergency. They're doing all they can. Doug Ford has come out, and I think the latest tweet was that they're going to look at removing mandates sooner. So Doug Ford even has seen the pressure of it. All right, let's go to Russia, Ukraine, and this is kind of big news here. Oil soars, ruble stocks tumble. U.S. believes Putin will launch horrific, bloody invasion of Ukraine next week. Now, John Holler did a great update. Go check was it Fellowship Bible Chapel, Faith Bible Chapel? I forget the name of the church, but anyways, John Haller, and he showed images of what looks like as a medic installation, basically tents for medics to dress wounds and that sort of thing, near the Ukrainian border. So it looks like Russia is getting ready for casualties, but also injuries from a war. And that's why the headline is a bloody there. So it says, when it comes to geopolitical hotspot du jour of the day, that is in French, every day is Groundhog Day, with a random daily leak out of the deep state through its preferred mainstream media mouthpieces that a Russian invasion on Ukraine is imminent any second now, even if there is zero evidence confirming it. So again, there was just this past week where Biden was saying, "Hey, it's going to happen tonight or the next day or something," and so this is what they're saying. My screen went black there. That's strange. Okay, I don't know what's going on there. Someone's hacking my computer or what? Anyways, it says the U.S. believes Putin. Tweet from Jeff Bennett has decided to invade Ukraine and communicated those plans to the Russian military. 3 officials tell Nick Schifrin. 2 admin officials say they expect the invasion to begin next week, echoing what Secretary of State Blinken said. So big names, big politicians, people in control are saying invasion next week. So I don't know. Is it going to come? So here's deployment of troops. U.S. deploys nuclear-ready B-52 bombers to UK with eye on Russia. Despite repeated warnings by Ukrainian President Zelensky, the U.S. is driving the rise of tensions at Ukraine's eastern border. Now, Putin came out and pretty much said similar. He said, look, we can't have Ukraine going into NATO. If they do, there may indeed be war. So even Putin is not lightening the language, but it is the American politicians, Biden administration, that is saying that it's imminent and coming next week. 2 B-52 Stratofortress aircrafts arrived at the Royal Air Force Fairfield on Thursday, with 2 more following. The bombers integrated with other NATO members, forces en route to Fairford, according to the Air Force. So there are troops going, there are airplanes going. Here's a video of start of joint exercises. This is on Twitter. And, of course, part of this is a scare tactic and positioning and propaganda. But it's fascinating to see all the tanks on the move there. The U.S. is deploying 1,700 troops to Poland, where British Defense Secretary Ben Wallace arrived in Moscow Friday for diplomatic talks. In discussions with Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov, the minister called on Russia to pull back its military presence at the Ukrainian border and de-escalate the situation. It seems like the U.S. Politicians, leaders, the administration of Biden are causing escalation of that. Almost sounds similar to what's happening in Canada as it relates to the trucker protests. White House now gives Americans 24 to 48 hours to exit Ukraine, warns invasion could begin during Olympics. Now, it's not going to happen during Olympics. I'm sure Russia doesn't want anything to look bad on it, on their Olympics. But Russia and China have had very, very high-level talks, the highest between Putin and Xi Jinping, and it could very well be used as a cover for Russia to go ahead and do this. No one wants to make any kind of dirty moves or start war during Olympics, which are supposed to be, peace and the coming together of the citizens of the world and all this sort of thing. But they're evacuating citizens. So this is from February 11th, 2022. This day, the White House is now telling Americans in Ukraine to get out of the country immediately, giving a 24 to 48 hour time frame to make a safe exit. So they're serious about this, I guess. They think it is imminent, and they are getting Americans out of Kiev, out of Ukraine. Number of Americans in the country is often estimated in tens of thousands, likely somewhere between 30,000, including dual citizens. We want to be crystal clear Any American in Ukraine should leave as soon as possible in any event in the next 24 to 48 hours. We obviously cannot predict the future. We don't know exactly what is going to happen, but the risk is now high enough and the threat is now immediate enough. If they stay, Americans are assuming risk with no guarantee there will be any other opportunity to leave and no prospect of U.S. military evacuation in the event of Russian invasion. So the Russians are coming. The Russians are coming. I still don't think Putin himself wants to go to war. He would be happy if Ukraine simply stayed out of NATO and there was guarantees, because that's right on his border. But you can see opinions either way as to whether Russia desperately wants to get some of the land back in Ukraine or not. And there is some part of that, as he wants Mother Russia to come together again. He also, in the afternoon press briefing, said U.S. intelligence belief that Putin could launch an invasion by the end of the Olympics. We continue to see signs of Russian escalation, including now forces arriving at the border. As we've said before, we're in the window when an invasion could begin at any time should Putin decide to order it. I will not comment on the details of our intelligence information, but I want to be clear, it could begin during the Olympics. And that very well could be the case. So as we go to the timeline of the return of the Lord, you see that prior to the tribulation, the 7-year period, I do believe there will be some war. There's going to be some economic trouble. There's going to be some civil unrest. Is civil unrest happening anywhere? Maybe in Canada with the truckers, maybe all around the world, as trucker protests erupt all around the world. Civil unrest, boy, that is a check mark there. Social collapse, I think so. And Antichrist and a peace deal, well, that's coming real soon, I think. But you notice at the bottom, I have Isaiah 17 and the destruction of Damascus, and Ezekiel 38, War of Gog, Magog, an initial fulfillment of that. Again, I believe to convince the whole world to take a mark of the beast, to allow a world leader to take charge of all sovereign countries as we know it, and to create a new world reserve currency where all countries accept it. I think that requires the world to be in such a catastrophic state that people are desperate and they will do anything to get food, to get shelter, to get some safety back in their lives. And so they're willing to accept a world leader, even if they don't like his policies, what he's doing, or the mark of the beast. It's not going to be called mark of the beast, obviously, at that point in time. Even if they don't like it, they're going to accept it, in exchange for safety, as the world is in complete upheaval and upside down, and troubles coming left, right, and center. It's going to get very hard for you and I, by the way. Have I told you that before? Have I told you to be prepared? Have I told you to get ready? Now, I'm not 100% ready. I wish I had a lot more bills paid off. I wish, we were a lot more self-sustaining in what we were doing. But I don't have endless money. You don't have endless money. Just get your hearts prepared. Get your minds prepared. Get your houses in order as much as you can. Recognize that something hard is coming, so maybe get a little prepared for it. Buy some extra seeds. Buy some shovels. Buy some rakes and some other things so you can plant a garden. Just basic things that don't cost a lot of money. And just have your mindset. Get your mindset in the situation where if something does come, when the supply chains are cut off, economic collapse does happen like in 1929, that if the Great Depression occurs again, it happened once, it'll happen again, that you're ready to deal with it mentally, and you're somewhat prepared physically to get back on your feet, to provide for your family, at least for 2, 4, 6, 8 months, while world powers works this stuff through and get supply chains going again. Ultimately, it will come back, but it's going to be slow, and you're gonna be real poor, you're going to be real hungry for a little while, and there's likely not going to be a lot of safety and security for a little while, as police forces are overwhelmed and there's no resources for police forces, and it's every man for himself as people are desperate at that point in time. All right, I'll leave it there, guys. A warning, and it looks like things are heating up, and I told you 2022 would be worse than 2021, and 2022 will continue to get worse. Every year is worse. Sin is worse in the world. We are in the birth pains just prior to the 7-year period. And the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse haven't even ridden yet, in my opinion. I think they will soon. And when they do ride, I don't think it will be any question as to whether they are riding or not. We're seeing and getting conditioned. And, this is a forewarning. The Lord wrote the Bible in such a way that we will be warned and we would know what is coming, so that we will be prepared in our hearts and minds and physically. Get prepared, just like Joseph did in Egypt during the 7 good years before the 7 bad years came along. Thanks for watching, folks. I'll leave it there. We'll see you in the next video.